Welcome to the Will and Dave Show, where we talk about hard things, whether it's comfortable or not. We think those conversations are necessary and important. We think that having different opinions is crucial to a healthy discourse. So saddle up, enjoy the fireside chat.
Hey, Will. Let's get the coffee
Hey,
stuff
Dave.
off there. The Will and Dave Show.
Oh, yeah, I better get out there.
Where disagreeing is encouraged.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to disagree with you?
As long as I can tolerate it, yeah.
Man, I am really, really, really bright.
You are a little bit bright. I was going to say, I didn't think I was too dim.
No, that's me.
Although I love how my nice little hole in my head lights up under the studio lights. It's great.
I just like to say I'm really bright because that doesn't get said about me very often.
So I got to tell you the story because it's incredibly embarrassing.
Yeah.
About how I did this to myself. I was getting out of my vehicle at work the other morning, and my boss, our sponsor, has his fifth wheel in the parking lot there. And normally I just kind of duck under the end of the fifth wheel because I park right beside it. Well, as I'm walking towards the fifth wheel, I almost drop my lunch container. So I managed to pull a Spider-Man, and I catch my lunch container before it hits the ground. It's glass, so I didn't want it to break. But without thinking, I stood straight back up while still moving forward after catching it, and just absolutely domed myself off the corner of his fifth wheel. Just about knocked myself out cold. It was a great time.
You were helping the boss.
Something like that.
Something like that. There you go.
So yeah, I'll get a nice scar. Should be great. Had a big goose egg all week. It was fantastic.
So what are you drinking this week?
It's a local brewery.
Blackbeard.
And their Blackbeard chocolate oatmeal stout. It's quite good.
I'm drinking water in a
really
Coca-Cola glass. It makes me think I'm drinking something a lot more.
I also have water.
I have a friend of mine the other day. He said, "Hey, Dave." I said, "Yeah."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "What are you doing in September?" I said, "Work and work and work." And he said, "Me and some friends are doing the whole 30 thing for the month of September, whole 30 September, and we're doing, we're going to do a planking thing where you increase your planking all day, every day."
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I said, "Well, I'll do the whole 30 in the planking," and then I forgot about the planking. It's now the 4th, and I have to catch up on my planking tonight, which sucks.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, that's not the words I was saying when I thought of this today.
I'm sure there were slightly less safe for work words being uttered.
Well, I was in church where I work, so they were fairly safe, but inside they weren't safe. So, yeah, so we are the Will and Dave Show. I'm Dave, and you're Will.
I'm Will.
Where we like to not agree, and that's okay.
I would say we like to not agree, but we like the fact that we can disagree and not dislike each other.
Right, and it's sort of a number of years ago, early on in the I don't know what we want to call the thing that happened for 2 years and knocked the world on his ass, but not using the word, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
we were in
Andromeda Strain.
Yeah, the movie.
You get the reference.
We were talking about I don't know what, heated conversation for about an hour and a half. And at the end of it, we're all done, and I look at you and say, "Hey, I love you, son," and didn't look at you. It was a phone call, so I didn't look at you.
It was on the phone, yeah.
It was on the phone. But I said, "Hey, I love you, son." You said, "Love you, Dad." And we hung up, and it hit me almost immediately as we were bored, as the world was ending, and there was nothing to do. And so we thought, hey, this might be a show where it's okay to be different. It's okay to disagree and not agree to disagree. I think each of us are sort of of the opinion that we do not agree to disagree. We just are okay disagreeing.
Disagree. But don't hate each other because of it. Or maybe like each other in spite of it. I'm not sure. Not in spite of it, but
yeah, I would agree
with indifference towards our disagreements, at least to a certain degree. I mean, there's certain things we don't agree on that certainly affect maybe how I look at you, but they don't change the fact that I love you.
Okay, I am really
that makes
bright.
sense.
So, Susan, if you are
You're pretty
still
intelligent.
Watching, I will get your help now because I can't fix it here. So, yes, I will get your help if you are still watching.
Beauties of a live show. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so that's the basic premise of the show. Before we get into the show, we should probably thank people that make this show possible.
We should. And who
I'll start with our longest sponsor, Stitched by Susan, and her growing quilting media empire.
Yes.
There is Stitched by Susan, which is her primary brand. You can find it on Instagram, I believe Facebook and YouTube. But you can also find her as a podcast, Measure Twice, Cut Once, which is a fantastic podcast. Even if you're not really into quilting, it's just one of those things. It's kind of like an ASMR experience where it's just relaxing. She doesn't handle controversial topics like we do. It's just easy conversation, very chill, about or over some quilting, and it's very cathartic. It's very leveling.
I agree.
It's good. And so she has been a sponsor of our show since the very beginning of our show, actually.
Yes, because
so we want to thank her and recommend that you check it out. Again, even if you're not into quilting, check her out on Instagram. Just the pure artistic talent on display with her quilting is worth marveling at, even if you're not someone who engages in the hobby directly.
She's incredible. Mind you, our opinion is biased?
Mildly.
Okay. Mine is more than mildly biased, but okay, and the other one is Northern Truss in Fort St. John for all your roofing and your floor systems. Not roofing, no, on all your roof systems and your floor systems, right?
Yes.
So it'd be...
Yes, we do not sell roofing.
Well, you sell metal roofing.
True, but it's less of like us selling it as much as functioning as a middleman. We order it in for you at a markup. So I guess technically selling, but...
Yeah, but you manufacture floor systems and roof systems, or I don't know what they call them. Is it roof systems or truss systems? So. I don't know what they call it. But the thing the roofing...
We build trusses.
You build trusses. There you go.
Make sure your roofs don't fall in. You know, important
stuff.
That is
what you do, yes. So if you'd like to reach them, the easiest way is phone Mallory on his private cell. Oh no, we better not put that out there because he
He's
never
not
answered
going to
you.
answer anyways.
So phone the office at 250-787-3033 and he will be glad to help you. Just ask for Mallory and tell him you heard about him on the Will and Dave show. He will fall over.
He'll love it.
He will fall over dead.
Yeah, that's true.
Somebody
It's
actually
true.
listens to that show.
Mhm.
And if you are watching and you want to support the show, we have a great way for you to do that. Just have to get to it.
Mhm.
Here we go. Oh, and my phone is dying. Hold on a sec.
Ruh-roh. While he's dealing with the technical difficulties, if you would like to support the show for the price of a cup of coffee, $5 or more as you see fit to donate, you can go to www.buymeacoffee.com/WillAndDaveShow. And yeah, for the price of a Starbucks cup of coffee, maybe not a Timmy's cup of coffee, but a Starbucks, you can help support us as we kind of try to grow and evolve the show in the directions that we want it to go, both technically and artistically.
Artistically.
Yeah, I like to think that what we do is a form of art in its own way.
It is a form of art. So, as a matter of interest, I went back and I looked at some of our early shows.
Mm.
I like our new shows much better.
Yes, we've grown quite a bit since then. Both in,
Yeah.
I was also listening to some of our old stuff, like our old intro on YouTube, which we should probably update at some point.
Yeah, we probably should.
We are so much less comfortable, both in front of a microphone and in front of a camera.
And I don't know if
The flow isn't there.
if we're comfortable now, but at least we feel more comfortable. I don't know if it shows. But
I can pretend to be more comfortable now. I know how to fake it better.
Till you make it.
I'm never comfortable in front of a camera. You know me. You know how much I detest having my picture taken, and video is just that much worse.
I do. And if you're watching the show, we'd love it if you would like, share, and subscribe.
Comment. Oh, like, share, and subscribe.
Hit the doobly-doo.
I was going for the in unison thing, didn't work.
Is that what you call
Yeah,
it?
down in the doobly-doo. If we have any relevant links to post with the show, that's where you'll find them. But yeah, you can like, share, subscribe. If you'd like to be notified whenever our show is on, you can hit the little bell icon beside the subscribe button there, and that'll notify you whenever we have a broadcast or post a new video.
Rose?
She says that. That is a comment I got on our last episode. I think it was Mallory saying, "Will, your dad's growing his hair out again. It threw me off. I didn't recognize him."
It's
just a fun fact. After that conversation, I was thinking about it.
Yes.
I don't have memory of you with anything but a buzz cut. I've seen pictures of you with the old flow from back in the day.
Long.
I have never seen you with anything more than a buzz cut.
Well, I just want to say here that if you look at the side of my head, then look at the side of your head, I do have more hair than you. Except for your chin. I have more on the side of my head than you do because you shaved the side of your head.
But look at this flow. This absolute glorious mane.
You know, I don't know what is worse. What was it called in the 80s? The mullet?
Yeah, or mullets are back in style.
Or that horse mane that you have on your hat holder. I'm not sure which is worse.
Do you want to know what? I can tell you what's worse. Worse is relative, but do you know what the new in style for men is these days?
Oh, do I want to know, or is it going to make me cringe?
Perms are back for men.
Oh my God!
Perms and mullets at the same time.
I used to have a perm. I think you have photographic evidence of me having.
I've seen pictures of it.
You have,
but yeah, perms are back. They're becoming a thing for guys again. Is to have perms.
So here's another one that I don't get. Maybe you can enlighten me. The holes in the back of the ear now is the new thing. Have you seen this?
Holes in the back of the ear.
Hold on, I'm gonna look this up. Yes, it's called the conch.
I know about Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah. And like Dayth piercings and things like that, which are not really the back of the ear, but sort of a part of the ear that isn't normally pierced.
No, they remove the back of the ear.
You photographs? 'Cause I'm curious.
I'm
now, and
looking.
I can pull this
I'm
up
looking
too.
for it because I just saw it the other day, and it actually is the removal of the inside of the back of your ear. I'm not finding any photographic evidence, so I'm looking and thinking maybe it is not true. But I just read it
Well, I
yesterday.
would think that something like that. Oh no, I've seen pictures of it. So the conch is the is that portion of the ear. So conch removal. Hmm.
Yeah.
So it is still, yeah. It's very much still like a new thing.
That does not make it a good thing.
I don't know if it's good or bad. It qualifies as body modification on the pretty extreme end.
Like I look at that and I just think that it has to hurt your hearing. Like that is
Theoretically.
wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong on so many levels. It's wrong.
So I'm trying to find here what any regulatory body has to say about it.
Oh my gosh. At the government who would want to
Yeah.
regulate that, let's not.
No, not the government, but people who are like, the Association for Safe Piercing and stuff like that, and whether or not they think that it's a safe procedure. And the
I'm
long and
sorry,
short of it
Rose, if
is
you're
they
still
say
watching,
that it
I have to put this back
it's
on,
a
Will.
testy and risky it's a risky procedure and not something that that your average piercer can do or would do. You have to be a specialist and or a plastic surgeon to actually do it,
I have to put this
as
back
doing
on
it
only
is
because I can.
dangerous. There you
Only
go.
because I can. Because, yes, I have hair.
Do it. Love it. Enjoy it while you can. I am.
Oh, gosh. Trust me. Okay, so, William,
Uh, yep.
how was your week, though? After all that, how was your week? We never really got into the week. We got into what the show was, the sponsors, and then my hair.
I got bonked on the head. I went on a lovely picnic this weekend. You know, it was busy. We're working overtime, so
Well, that's good.
didn't have a lot of time for uh, frivolity.
So I have a saying, actually, before we get into the show, one moment. And I believe we hit this a little while ago. I'm just going to look this up. I'm just going to throw it on hard times make strong.
Oh, is this the hard times make
Yes.
strong men make good times
Yes.
make weak men, and weak men make hard times?
Yeah, that thing that you just said.
I hate
So,
that.
I know you hate it, but I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
And here's my question, William. As you
Yep.
obviously have some feelings about this saying,
Yep.
why don't you like it?
I feel like the saying in and of itself isn't necessarily bad, except for that it's how it's how it gets used a lot. It gets used a lot in discourse around masculinity and a man's purpose in society, and I don't like that. The idea that
What?
strong people create good society creates weak people, and weak people make a bad society or a harsher society is probably true to a certain extent, I would think. No, I mean like the statement of strong men make good times make weak men make hard times. It's putting it gets utilized like that meme format or that little blurb gets used a lot
Right.
to basically say that men are weak right now and men need to go back to being the manly men that they once were. And I don't like that. I do not like that at all.
Okay, so instead of
I don't
saying
think that men are
men,
necessarily weak right now.
why don't you say humans and not men?
You could, and in that sense, it's not so bad. Although I don't necessarily think that humans are becoming weak or becoming different.
Because
Remains to be seen if that's going to benefit us in the long run or not.
as this is, so where I'm going with this is the ear conch thing, the hole in the conch removal or whatever
Mm-hmm.
the heck they call that.
Oh yeah.
I see that, and there is a push now for soul care, for emotional health, for all those things
Mhm.
which are supposed to make us healthier.
Mm-hmm.
But are they making us stronger?
Depends on it depends on your definition of stronger. Making you physically stronger, probably not.
How about emotionally stronger?
Although the modern, probably
Are they?
emotionally more mature.
But are they making us
Yes.
stronger?
It
Because
again,
here's
that depends on your does stronger mean more resilient to outside effects?
yes.
Yes. Does stronger mean more capable of handling your own emotions in a healthy manner? Then yes.
Do you really think so?
I think that we are getting stronger.
Do
I
you think
do.
so? So here's the
I
thing.
do. Yes.
The whole point of emotional health and emotional rest and all those other those aspects of that is to remove the hurt. Is we don't want to hurt, so we want to remove the pain
Mm,
of emotional
No.
pain. Yes, it is. The whole point of emotional
No.
health is we don't want to hurt. You don't want to
I
overstress
mean,
yourself. You don't want to go too
over
far.
stress, yes, but
But
not hurting. Like
how do
that's
you make your muscles strong? You hurt them and you rip them and they heal, and that is what makes them strong.
emotions aren't the same way though. But to a certain extent, I get your metaphor. But like, I'll use an example that I read recently. Not read,
Okay.
watched. There's a very fantastic counselor who I follow on Instagram because he says lots of good things. And one of his affirmations that he does every month, he asked people's responses, and one of them was talking about how the affirmation helped him avoid some depressive episodes over the last month. And the counselor's like, that's great, but I want to challenge that by saying that the purpose of these things isn't to avoid depression. It's to engage with it in a healthy manner. It's to function around and through it well, and all these different things. So it's not about avoiding pain. It's about handling, managing, and potentially healing the pain
So when we look
or finding
at
what its source is.
universities
Mm-hmm.
in the safe spaces, and
Mm-hmm.
we look at this whole push of no offense and don't hurt me and I don't want you to anger me or or God forbid, I don't want a view that I don't agree with because Lord help me, I may be offended if you do. That's the whole impetus in behind, and you look at universities, at the safe
I
spaces, and
I think you're painting with too broad of a brush.
I don't know that I am. And again, this is where I just wonder, and I'm not saying it's true. I wonder if when we look at society right now,
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to have any pain. We do everything we can to avoid any kind of pain, if it be drugs, if it be emotional pain. I mean, the whole opioid, the whole opioid nonsense was in the avoidance of pain. Is not healing, is masking the pain.
I think it was more about selling drugs than it was about anyone avoiding pain.
Yes, except the only reason we needed them was for pain.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole purpose of them. And we will go to the doctors as we hurt, but the reason we hurt is because, well, I'm 50 pounds overweight. I'm hauling around a sack of potatoes I shouldn't be. Of course I'm going to hurt. There are easier ways of fixing things that we don't want to do, and so we want to get help to mask the pain. And I just wonder if our society wants to feel good and not fix the problems. And I think that this is what that saying means. Is
I
we're in
mean,
good times, and I think we're going to
maybe.
end up weaker than we are stronger.
I don't think these qualify as good times. They're times. I think the concept of good times are, I mean, yeah, relative to, say, World War II. These are good times.
Yes, they are.
But I
When were you
really
hungry last? Like actually hungry and could not eat.
could not eat as in could not afford to go get food, or could not eat as in
Well, afford
wasn't
to go
hungry
get
enough
food,
to
or,
go to a
or there
shelter.
was no food to go get.
It's been a long time.
Have you ever?
Yes.
Okay.
But so yeah, they are better times, relatively speaking. I wouldn't go so far as to say these are good times that just breed weak people, but I really want to push back on like looking at things like safe spaces. I'm going to use those as a specific instance to zoom
That's
in
an
on a
easy
bit.
example. Yeah.
In universities, they don't exist, like they aren't being created and pushed as a way to just make life easier for students. It's nice to spin it that way. They exist for the same reason that a lot of universities are putting bars on dorm windows right now. It's not to keep people out, it's to stop the students from throwing themselves out and killing themselves. Yes, there are some people who just go to safe spaces to hide away from every little piece of pain, but they're the minority. Most of them are people who are under such an astronomical amount of stress that the idea of killing themselves seems really freaking nice all of a sudden. University right now is stressful, more stressful than it has ever been at any time in our history outside of like medieval times when you just get shanked for no reason. Like nobody
Well,
in the
that
past two
happens in New York
generations
now.
has been as stressed.
You don't have to go to
Yeah,
medieval times to get that. Just go to New York.
but you hear what I'm saying though. Like being in university has never been so stressful as it is now in modern history. There are new levels of stress that are being heaped on these young people that
And
the previous generation didn't deal with.
I would, and this is my oldness speaking, my old timers. I think it's because of weak people.
Why? I think it's because of your generation
It's
charging
not
them at
that
the
hard.
yin yang for a diploma.
But you don't get
To me, it's not
charged at
that
the
hard.
yin yang in Canada.
Yes, you do.
No, you
I mean,
don't.
in Canada, it's better. It's still not good.
Well, unless it's free, it's hard to get much cheaper for a full-time education in the world. There are places that it's free.
If you're going to if you're going to something like a community college in Canada, yes, it's an affordable education, relatively speaking. But using the United States, it is not. It's not. It's not easier. It's never
but
been
it's
harder.
self-induced.
No, it's not. They're
Yes,
not
it
the
is.
ones choosing tuition prices or living costs or inflation.
There's
They
community
just have to deal
colleges
with it.
here. There's community colleges
Oh
here,
my god.
and they're cheap.
But they still cost. They still cost so much more than they used to. I'm gonna Google this.
You're going to Google this. But here's my question. It's self-induced. It's self-induced pain. Now,
What do you mean? They're not choosing that.
they're
They're,
choosing
like
where
they have
they
to go to
go,
they
and they're
they are
choosing
choosing
the
college. It's
degree, and
true
they're choosing the degrees
because
that they
there's
take.
oh
And the
my
ones
God.
who spend $80,000 on underwater basket weaving, it is absolutely
But
a
that is
choice.
that is a minority. You are painting everyone with a really broad brush.
Yes, I am.
That's not everyone.
No, it's not. I can't make
Some
a
people are
statement about
going in.
everyone.
Some people,
I
yeah,
can't make
but
a
some
statement
people
that
are going
covers
into
everyone.
college for very necessary things like
Yes.
teaching or doctors or nurses.
Yes.
And the cost of their education is skyrocketing.
It is in the U.S. It's
And
not in Canada.
it is going up, just not as fast as the U.S.
Yeah. Well, so are wages. If
Not
you were a
nearly as
teacher
fast.
30 years
Not,
ago and you're a teacher now in Canada, I bet you the cost has gone up about, I bet you it has.
nope.
Okay.
Tuition in Canada, inflation has almost tripled. Like the rate of inflation is 1/3 of the rate of cost in tuition increase. I'm wording
I
that really
just
poorly.
know that I have a
Tuition
daughter
is increasing by factors more.
who is a nurse in Canada.
Yes. Yes.
And it cost her right around $8,000 a year
Yes.
for 4 years. And she had zero debt when she came out. And her husband worked through that whole time. I don't think I think Will, and I'm not saying this is a fact. I'm saying that I think, and this is a Dave opinion, And for those of you watching, it is a Dave opinion, nothing more, nothing less. But I believe that we want things so easy and we don't want to pay the consequences of our actions is in that saying is that is the impetus of that saying is when you no longer want to pay the consequences of your actions, you will become weak. And when you're weak, I think you will have hard times. And out of those is when you get strong humans, and then you get good times again. Hello?
Yep. So the average rate of increase in inflation since 1980, this is just 2014, and things are getting worse faster. But the overall average inflation in cost of goods was up about 120% between 1980 and 2014. Just tuition costs for colleges, not counting textbooks and not counting living costs, which are also going up astronomically, they increased by nearly 260%. So more than double the rate of inflation is the rate of increase in tuition costs, not counting the cost increase in textbooks, which are also going up astronomically fast. Like I remember with my ex,
Yeah.
I remember spending a good amount of time helping her find ways that she could pirate textbooks because it was hundreds of dollars for a single book that she would use for one semester and would be out of date at the end of the semester. So she can't even resell it to the next person because they're going to make a couple of tiny modifications so they can resell it as a whole new book to a whole new student.
Right.
So no, I don't think that it's a fair comparison because college is getting substantially harder and more stressful. They have to be under more debt and hope they can find work afterwards.
So are you saying that you're not able to go to college and not end up with debt?
I'm saying that it's getting harder and harder and harder to do it. And less realistic to expect somebody to do it. Especially that depends heavily on the field they're getting into.
Oh my gosh, we have Doug Preet on the show. Second time in our friendship.
Howdy, Doug.
If you hang around, Doug, you probably will agree more than twice on this show.
You're gonna hate me though.
Oh, probably not. And if he does, you know what? That's his loss.
Or he'll hate my ideas, maybe not me personally.
So the meat of the show.
Anyways,
we sort of got off at a tangent.
Yeah, we kind of got sidetracked.
As there is a point to this, and the reason I did this is because I do have a reason. Is last show a few weeks ago we were talking about the right to privacy.
Mm-hmm.
And for the papers that they were looking for in Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago, and you mentioned as well Julian Assange.
I mentioned that after that episode. I brought it up kind of just between us.
Yeah.
I think there's some interesting parallels to be pulled between a president taking classified information post-presidency and Julian Assange publicly releasing confidential information.
And I wonder, I'm going to turn it over to you, actually. And I sort of want to hear what you're thinking on this, as I'll be honest, I don't know what I think on this. I'm not a fan of the orange-haired man. You know that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yet in this, I wonder if this is not a case of the media completely overblowing this. Again, imagine that.
I think that to a certain extent it is. I'm not in the left-wing camp that thinks that him taking those documents is some sort of heinous, treasonous crime. There's at least some precedent for presidents taking documentation with them when they leave the White House, although nothing remotely close to what Trump did. And I think that his defense of his actions is comical at best. It's really easy to just look at him and what his lawyers have said about the whole situation and find very blatantly contradictive statements from them. So it's very clear they're just throwing everything at a wall and seeing what sticks and going to roll with that. And so I very much, I'm more upset by how Trump and his team are handling it than I am about the actual taking of the documents, which is probably not the same as most people in my political group.
So let me ask you this, as because I do have a question about that.
Mm-hmm.
You're upset about his response and his lawyer's response and his team's response. And I'm thinking, but should it ever have happened?
I mean, no, it shouldn't.
So their response may be wonky at best. It's how he's done things for years, and so I don't think his approach is going to change any. But should the raid ever have happened? And when I'm reading the list of some of the documents that they took out.
Mm-hmm.
There were empty folders.
Oh yeah. Well, they don't know that until they take them out.
Well, yes, but I mean, this is something that. Oh gosh, and I hate to even go there. But the Hunter Biden laptop, or the server of Hillary Clinton, the server in her closet, and no raids ever were done. There was no investigations, anything. And you look at this, and there was an FBI raid on the home of a former president.
To clarify, it wasn't a raid.
It was a raid.
It was the execution of a warrant.
Yes, and they showed up with the ATF and the FBI, etc. I'll agree with you.
I believe it was just NARA and the FBI.
What's that?
I believe it was just NARA and the FBI, unless I'm mistaken.
I thought I saw others. Either way.
Maybe. Either way.
It was early morning. They showed up with like stormtroopers from Star Wars and said, "We're coming in."
Hardly.
Yeah, you know what
they gave him many options and instances where they asked him officially to give those things back because they needed to go through them for more than one reason. He was notified repeatedly. Sometimes him and his team responded. Other times they just straight up ignored them. Yes, he was.
Are you able to prove that?
Yes, absolutely I can.
Okay, you don't have to right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The FBI specifically did reach out to Trump to get documents back from him repeatedly, as did the National Archives, because the things that he took, many of the things that he took, not necessarily of legal importance, but the National Archive is required by law to document everything that Trump writes or receives or dictates, anything. They have to record all of it.
So is it worth an FBI raid?
I mean, how else? He wouldn't give them back. He wasn't volunteering it. He had been subpoenaed for it.
I don't know, Will, but I'm just asking, is it warranted?
What else do they do?
Look at the Hunter Biden laptop. It didn't warrant that, and they know that there's information on there that was ill-gotten and that should not have been there. They know that. They know on the server for Hillary Clinton, they know that there was information on there that she should not have had. But there's no FBI raid. So I ask again, why do we look at the actions here and we say, well, gee, it's because they asked him and he wouldn't give it? I mean, for heaven's sakes, if that's the only reason to have an FBI raid, all of us are in danger of an FBI raid every time we lie on our taxes. Like, this is not, and I know I'm stretching a point, but
I'm quickly looking at some stuff.
And yes, Rose, I do believe that there is a reason for the timing on this. I don't know that it's going to make a whole lot of difference, but I take issue with the raid itself. And I take issue with your response, Will, that says, well, it's their response that's bad when then odds are it should never have happened in the first place.
What do you mean? I don't see how those two are connected. In any meaningful way, at least.
You're aggravated at the response of the Trump team.
Yes.
Saying how they responded was idiotic.
Comical at best.
Yes.
Pathetic at worst.
But if it hadn't happened, we wouldn't.
They wanted documents back that they have every right to have back, because they're not exclusively Trump's documents. If they were his documents, it's another thing entirely. But he took documents that he didn't necessarily, at least we suspect, that he didn't necessarily have the right to take. And so they have the right to take them back because he wouldn't offer them up peaceably.
Yes. I get that part.
Yeah.
But it's okay to do that to Trump. Is that what I'm hearing? It's okay because, well, they asked him, he didn't do anything, but it's not okay for these other people.
They determined that they didn't need to go in and get those things from those other people.
There are things every year that happen that go year after year after year after year, and they're in court, and they argue, and they go back and forth, and they negotiate, they come back and forth, and in a year and a half, it's an FBI raid of Mar-a-Lago. And you don't see the motivation there as being just a little bit suspect? When there's empty folders, there are items in there which
I don't know they're empty folders until they get them back.
Well,
because Trump's team wouldn't tell them what was there.
See, I find that hard to believe. As if they didn't know what was there, why did they know they had to go get them?
They don't know every document that's there. That's why they need them back, because they need to categorize them. They need to determine what's safe for him to take and what's not. And he never went through the proper channels when he initially took them. There's a way for presidents to take information.
Yes, there is.
Out of the White House, and he didn't follow it. And so they have a broad idea of what was taken.
That the timing of this is so political.
How is it political?
Because it's coming up on the midterms. And you think that this is not going to make a difference in the election in November?
Been trying to get a hold of those documents for months. I don't really feel any sympathy for him about when it happens. And
you
it's
don't
not
see
like it made
correlation.
any substantial
you don't see
difference.
Any correlation there.
It's not like it made any difference in the midterms. What did it do?
Oh, this absolutely made a difference in the midterms.
How? Whose opinion flipped because of this? Have you met a single person or heard or seen online a single person who was like, wow, Trump did that? I guess I can't vote for him. Bullshit. It didn't change anything.
You don't think that this was political?
A whole lot of nothing. I think
Seriously.
By that metric, almost everything is political. Or meant it with the same level of political intensity as you're ascribing to this.
Sure they were.
Maybe it was. Maybe
the whole
there were
Hillary
some people in the Democratic Party
political.
who was pushing and saying, hey, we need to do this now, close to the midterms. Ideally, that would be best.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't think it made any discernible difference.
Huge difference in that election. And it would have made even more if the FBI had raided it and said, oh, yeah, there is a server here. Oh, yeah, there are classified documents on here. Oh, gee, we shouldn't have done that. But they never did. But now they did. And this doesn't strike you just a little bit odd? No?
It strikes me as politics. In the same sense that the Hillary server strikes me as just politics. It's more of the same.
Yes, but it's the actions that were taken.
Someone had plausible cause to go get the files from Trump. Somebody didn't manage to get plausible cause to go get a server from Hillary, apparently. Although they did manage to determine what was on the server because it's digital and there's always an other end to those digital transactions, and they determined that the server was not that important.
I
don't know how trustworthy that is. I can't say, but it's the same regulatory body or the same law enforcement body, I guess.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have the faith in my government that you do.
I don't have faith in them at all.
I
just don't think. I think that if it was a political ploy, if it was an attempt to purely done at that particular time to influence politics, I think that was a stupid idea.
Oh, I think it was
I
a
don't think they
brilliant
gained
idea.
anything from it.
It was a brilliant
I don't
idea.
think they gained a damn thing.
I
No,
do.
all they did was galvanize Trump supporters. All they did was give Trump supporters another reason to say, look at them hating on the man that we want to be president.
So it did
Look at
that,
how hard
yes.
they're trying to put him down. That's all it's doing. I
It
have
did do
not
that. I'll agree
seen
with you.
it- yeah,
But
I
it
think it was
also,
if that was their intent, it was stupid.
if there's anybody on the fence, it does make a difference. It's why we have the disinformation campaigns that
Who's on the fence about Trump at this point? At this point, who's really on the fence?
I
about
don't know
Trump?
that they're on the fence about him. I think a whole lot of people are on the fence about the other guy. I think a whole lot of people are on the fence about who's in power right now.
This didn't get Biden any bonus points.
Oh, I think it did.
I don't see
As
how.
again, because again, Will, you're not
If-
looking at it from the other side.
If they were trying to use this as a political football, they're stupid because they did it at the same time as the debt forgiveness, which completely overshadowed it in left-leaning
gosh.
circles.
Okay, we're going to get to that.
Nobody
or are we
cared about
leaving that till
Mar-a-Lago
next week?
because of the debt forgiveness.
Are we leaving
That
that
could be
till
its own
next week?
episode, the debt
Oh,
forgiveness.
God.
But I'm just saying that in and of itself happened at the same time. So if they were trying to use it as some sort of political leverage for the midterms, they bungled the whole thing atrociously.
Okay, so here's one thing I bet you will agree on.
What's that?
If you're willing to take a stab on something that we might agree on.
Okay.
I'm all for debt forgiveness for student loans. But who got the money?
What do you mean?
Who receives all the tuitions? It's a pretty easy question. It is not a loaded question.
The colleges who
The
collect
colleges
them,
and
the debt
universities,
collectors.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who should forgive the debt?
I mean, theoretically, the colleges and universities
There
should
you
be the
go.
ones doing it.
There you go.
Yeah, but they're not going to.
Why should
They're not giving up their golden cash cow.
Why should you and I be paying for other people's student debt?
We're not.
Yes, we are. It's our tax
They're not.
dollars.
Biden isn't paying the student debt.
He's forgiving it.
He's not paying the schools. The schools are getting shafted.
No, they're not. No, they still get their money. It's
they're
a
not getting all
government
their money.
forgiveness program. Yes, they are. It's a government
What?
forgiveness program. Yes. The loans are guaranteed by the federal government. Yes, William. You can look that up all you like. I will promise you. The universities are receiving their money. They're not going to be out however many hundreds of billions of dollars. Trust me on this one. Universities are not out the money.
They might be insured for the money.
Well, the government insures it. That's why the government is bailing them out, because they're insuring the loans. They're just going to say, yeah, it doesn't matter anymore. And therefore, me and all the other guys around here and ladies.
The loans are held by the Department of Education that are being
Yes.
forgiven.
Yes.
Yeah. So
The
they're not being
colleges have
paid
got
off.
their money.
They're being canceled.
The colleges
Yeah.
have got
Colleges
the money.
got what they want.
Yes.
Okay. So we're both wrong.
So no, we're
The
not.
colleges aren't getting paid. No, the colleges have already been paid. That's already
Yes.
happened.
Yes.
The
They
Board
won't
of
have to give the money
Education,
back.
the ones who gave out the loans. So
Yes.
the government isn't giving out more money. They're just not collecting on the money that is owed
Right.
as much. Okay, so we're both wrong.
No. Why don't the universities have to pay that back?
I mean, they should.
Yes. They should.
That'd be great if you could find a way to do it. I'm 100% for that.
This is our tax dollars, Will. If there's a forgiveness,
We're not paying any extra tax dollars.
the money went out. It's
Yeah.
not being repaid.
Yeah,
So therefore we are on the hook as taxpayers.
we're not on the hook
And-
any more than we were before it happened.
Well, yes, we were, because the student was going to pay it back.
Theoretically.
That's the point of a student loan, is they have to pay it back. You can't go bankrupt out of student debt. You have to pay it back. And we're saying, nah, you don't.
Okay.
Why doesn't it come out of the universities?
It would be great if it would. That'd be awesome.
So we agree on that.
That universities should shell out because they're overcharging students? Yes.
Well, because they got the money.
Yeah, they should have to shell out. I couldn't agree more.
The forgiveness.
Now, the only
the student
caveat
loans.
is that inevitably the schools wouldn't end up suffering. It would be the teachers and the faculty that would end up suffering for it. But yes, in broad strokes, yes, I think the schools should be the ones paying for it.
Here's what's happening, Will. If you'll forgive me, be just a little bit of a This is its
devil's
own show.
advocate?
We got to leave this. It's its own show, and again, I want to leave
Okay.
that because it gets me hot under the collar. We got sidetracked off of
We did.
off of privacy and secrecy, and the cost of that, and is it worth it?
Mm-hmm.
So, what say you? In the words of Bill O'Reilly, what say you?
To that or to confidentiality and classified documents?
Yeah, the value of confidentiality and tops
Well,
secret documents.
that's the next part of the question. Like the one half of the question is, was it ethical for them to raid Trump, or was it a good idea for them to raid Trump, and the reasons behind it? But then the next question is, should Trump even have the documents in the first place, and what's the cost of somebody like, well, not him specifically, but people taking classified documents and potentially having them in the public sector, like people like Julian Assange, how
Right.
he's handled, or him and his company Wikileaks
Right.
have handled classified documents in the past.
And what do you think of those things?
I don't know. It's very murky because on one hand, to use the biggest lightning rod of an example with what's her name? The lady who leaked a ton of classified documents and is the reason that he's being chased. I can't remember her name right now. Obama pardoned her right before
Yeah.
right before he left office.
So on this screen right now are all the SOPs for detainees.
Mm-hmm. Chelsea Manning, that's her name. Chelsea Manning. Found it. So yes, when Chelsea Manning released all those documents, on one hand, I love the fact that the government's being held accountable, the fact that it did shady things during the war. On the other hand, her leaking of those documents put a lot of people's lives at risk. People who may not have necessarily been guilty of those crimes are still going to be put at risk because of the declassification of those documents in broad strokes. And so it ends up being kind of a moral minefield.
Right. So
Well,
what's
that's
your
just it.
opinion?
Like, I don't know. That, like, my opinion is that it's hard to tell when you have someone like Julian Assange, who, from the outside at least, seems to be someone who just seeks transparency at whatever cost. Whether that's right or wrong is kind of moot. But his driving force seems to be transparency at any cost. But when I look at somebody like Trump having access to classified documents, I don't feel ambivalence towards his motives like I would with a Julian Assange. I feel ambivalence towards Julian's motives, not necessarily the effects. The effects have their repercussions.
So let me ask you, and so in the case of Assange,
Mm-hmm.
he got the documents and he leaked them on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So he leaked them out to the public. Say, here's what your government's doing.
Yes.
And you're sort of okay with that. You're a little bit ambivalent. You're sort of okay with that.
I don't even
That's
know
what
if
I
okay
hear.
with it. No.
You're sort of. You're not sure.
I like that some people were held to task. I don't know if they actually were held to task much. I
But-
don't like that other innocents were put in the crossfires as a cost. So,
But
like, I
you're
like
not
the idea, but I don't know if it was worth the cost.
But you're not okay. And you're fairly certain that you're not okay with Trump. Has a couple boxes. It wasn't very much.
Over 30 boxes, thousands upon thousands of documents.
No, it was not either.
Yes, it was.
Now I got to go find out how much again.
How many documents? $10,000 documents, approximately, give or take. It's not a minuscule amount. It's not like a big WikiLeaks amount, but it's not a small amount either.
And he has it in his closet. He's not releasing them out to the public, or not
No,
that we
this-
know of.
Yes,
So-
I know, but
So
this
you're
is where
okay with
it's
somebody
it's
who-
not an apples to apples comparison, and I'm very aware of that.
I just want to clarify this, though. Is you're okay, sort of not
No.
sure? I want to think about the one guy who's holding government accountable and releasing things, except this guy, no, it's not okay.
I think part of it is due to the apparent impetus behind them having them. Like, do I think that Trump has, or do I have any reason to think that Trump has any altruistic motive behind having these documents? No, none. There's nothing that Trump has done during his presidency that would even remotely make me think that he has classified documents to help the American people. He doesn't. He has them to get ahead. Whatever he's got there, he took because he could get his hands on them and he just wants them, or because he has some intended purpose for them.
Yes, I can see
Do I have
that.
any reason to think that his purpose is altruistic in any way, shape? Like I say, Julian Assange apparently has some level of altruistic motive. Do I think it's misguided? Yes,
Yeah,
probably.
but you know that with Assange, and I'm going to go on record as saying I kind of admire Assange. I really do. So I don't have a problem with Assange. I have a problem with you aren't a fan of Trump, so you are quick to say no, that's wrong. With
I'm
Assange,
quick
you're
to
looking for
say that
reasons to accept what Assange did, knowing that what he did, it did put people's lives at stake.
I'm not looking for reasons to accept or justify what Assange did. I'm saying that it's morally gray. I'm saying that I have mixed feelings about it. I'm saying that I don't have such conflicting feelings about the potential, not the fact that Trump has done it, because we don't know that he has, but the potential for Trump to do nefarious things with classified documents en masse.
I find that interesting, Will, that one guy, he stole it.
I don't know him from Adam, but yes.
But he
he was given it by a whistleblower. Yes.
Yes, but he negotiated that, and again, I believe from all reports he helped, and he funded
absolutely.
it. Mm-hmm. He did that for the purpose of releasing it.
Yes.
It was not to sit in his basement. He knew what he was going to do. He knew that this was his plan, and you're sort of okay with that.
Ish. That's a
very
Trump, loaded statement.
Okay, you're saying it's gray. It's a maybe depending on the.
Mm-hmm.
And look at Trump, who had no plans to do any of that. It was not
that we know of. No. You
that
say
we
that.
know of.
That we know of.
That we know of. And there goes my phone again. Just a second.
We're gonna have to be careful how long this episode lasts. I'm saying that from what we know of Trump, obviously he hasn't released the documents or done anything nefarious with them that we know about. They're sitting in his basement in Mar-a-Lago. But do I have any reason to think that he wouldn't use them for nefarious purposes? And no, I don't.
But one guy did.
Yeah.
And you're not sure about the other guy.
And he's going to go to jail for it. He's getting extradited, and he's going to pay for it.
He's not yet. It's been going on for 5 years, and we don't know
that. His second appeal just got rebuked as of last month. It's a matter of time at this point before the UK extradites him to the States, and then he faces charges.
It's been 5 years that he's been arguing this.
Yeah.
And he did it on purpose, knowingly, for this reason.
Mm-hmm.
It took 5 years for him to be extradited.
Mm-hmm.
We have a Trump who in a year and a half, he had an FBI, he had a search warrant executed on his property. And you're like, that's okay. He took stuff. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. But here's this other guy. And because you're not sure of his altruistic his impetus or his reasons, his motives, that's the word I'm looking for, his motives, you're like, ooh, maybe that's okay.
No.
But with Trump, it's not. In your head, you're just like, well, I know Trump.
It's not that I know that it's not.
Well,
in case of probabilities, we can be pretty damn sure that it's not.
But you are sure with Assange.
I'm not sure with Assange. No, yes. I'm not. I'm not
sure. He got it to leak it. He did it to leak it.
Yeah, well, to leak it, yes. But I mean, I don't know his motives. Like, I assume his motives. And now that he's done it, it's easier to look back and try to extrapolate his motives from it. Trump hasn't done anything with classified documents yet. But do I want Trump to have classified documents to do anything with?
But
no.
But you're prejudging the man.
Absolutely. I have every reason to judge his character. Like, if I look at some dude who has a record of instability and bombastic behavior, now I can look at that and say he hasn't done anything yet, but do I want him to own a firearm?
William, I want to come back to this. You know Assange.
No, I don't. I know what Assange did.
But you know what he did.
Yes.
You know why he did it now. You do
We
know
think we
why.
do.
He did it to leak. He said it.
Okay.
He did it to leak it. He was going to leak it right from
Yes.
day one, and they fought the leaking, and he leaked it anyways.
Yes.
That's why he did it. Knowingly, he put assets at risk.
Yes.
We know he did that. And you look at
Yes.
that and you go, ooh, I'm not sure. There's some moral ambiguity there. Motives maybe, maybe not. Here's a guy that you do not know why he did it, has not used it for anything nefarious, and you're looking at, but he's wrong.
Because he's Trump.
And that doesn't, like, okay, I rest my case. You know
I don't.
one guy has done it, is wrong. Here's a guy that may do something wrong with it, and you're
I'm not
prejudging
even.
him as
You're
think.
saying this as if I expect some sort of like massive punishment for Trump. Like I think that he needs to be charged with treason for taking classified documents. I
Well,
don't. I just don't want him to have the damn documents. They did what I want them to do. They took the documents.
yeah.
I don't care what they do
And
with
you're
them.
excusing that
Absolutely.
because it's Trump.
He had documents that weren't his, so he lost them.
But are you okay
If
with
you
that with Assange?
if you want me to say,
And that is my question. Is you look at Assange and say, oh man, I got some moral ambiguities there. Maybe the motives are good.
because in Assange's case, maybe the morals were good. I have absolutely no reason to suspect that Trump has anything other than nefarious purposes. Nefarious in the sense that purely for his personal gain. He is not going to do anything for the greater good. Someone like Julian Assange is doing this because he views it as the greater good. Whether it is or not, I don't know. I can't say.
So let
But
me.
nothing Trump is going to do with those documents is going to be for the greater good. They're going to be for the Trump good. And fuck him.
But
He shouldn't have
think,
them.
He may think it's for the greater good. There obviously is.
Yeah, but we've seen what Trump's greater good is. It's great.
William, there's still half of a country who thinks that he did well.
And they're wrong, objectively, by almost every metric.
Except half of
Some of the
half
things
of
the
one of the
Republicans
largest nations in the world
N-
agree
Mm.
that he was right.
I will say, and people, this is one of those like really broad statements that I'm going to make,
Okay.
and I'm probably going to end up eating my words someday, but it's going to make me feel really good in the moment to say it.
Yeah, that's okay.
There are lots of metrics, conservative metrics or Republican metrics that you can look at that changed and happened under Trump's presidency that if you're a conservative are good.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I mean, I may not agree with them, but that's fine. Those are good things that happened. I don't think any of them happened because Trump is Trump. I think that Trump existed exclusively as a black mark on Republicans. And for people to justify him, I think is lunacy.
I won't argue with you.
I don't have.
I think it's unarguable. But what
Yeah.
I do think is you look at that and you make a statement, say he's wrong.
Yeah, I
when
make
there
a
is
statement that
half of a country who thinks he's right.
if half of a country, no, see, half of a country I think deals with Trump's ideals or his ideas. I don't think they agree with Trump. I'm gonna be charitable, and let's say that half of the country thinks that Trump is fine or good or even tolerable. I think that half of the country is stupid.
That's a pretty harsh statement.
Yes. I don't think that, sorry, I should clarify a little bit. They are not stupid as a whole. That decision is stupid. That thing that they are thinking that Trump is good is dumb. They might be wonderful people who the other 99.9% of their lives are really smart, intelligent, caring, empathetic, wonderful people. But if they think that Trump is good, they are dumb. And I'm pretty comfortable saying that.
So I'm going to go back to just a moment here. I'm just going to grab this.
And I want to say that I don't need to go out on limbs like saying that he had the documents for treasonous purposes or any number of things the left loves to accuse him of that they have no real proof of. I mean just by things that we have proof of, things that are unambiguous about Trump's character and his actions as president and as a person. He's a dirtbag.
So
He's an absolute dirtbag.
Which you wrote.
I did. We kind of got off topic.
Well, not really. What information is worth keeping secret?
Mm-hmm.
And what you're saying, if I understand you correctly, is because of your opinion of Trump, in the opinion of a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't get to make that call.
Yes,
But Assange, maybe he does.
maybe. That's a big maybe. I think that Assange seems like the kind of apparently appears at a distance to be a person who at least put substantial thought into it and the repercussions of his actions, and is now going to pay a price for it. I don't think that Trump is going to do any such thing. Anything to get Trump,
Yes,
anything that Trump can do to get Trump ahead, Trump will do.
except you don't know what he's going to do with it yet.
I'm just happy that he can't do it anymore.
But you don't know. It might have lived in his basement forever, and you just are going out to prejudge
Maybe
him.
he has photographs of all of it. I'm so okay with prejudging Trump.
I just find that fascinating.
Oh, I am so
That
okay
because
with
you don't like
prejudging
a
him.
guy, you're going to prejudge him.
I don't think it has anything to do with necessarily liking him. I despise him.
I absolutely think it has everything
Not
to do
liking
with
him
not
is
liking
being way too nice to the guy. I despise him.
because you don't agree with him.
No,
because
I
you
think that he, on like a personal level, because he's like the most viewed person in American history in terms of like his life being under a microscope. I can't think of anyone since Brad and Angelina that has been under more of a microscope than Donald J. Trump. He's a despicable human being. And I'm okay making that judgment from the outside because I think that everything we've seen has unilaterally confirmed that he's a dirtbag.
I am just fascinated that you will prejudge somebody.
At this point I don't think it's prejudging.
But it absolutely is, because he has not used the documents for anything.
Oh,
they were
no.
in his home.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I'm
in
prejudging
his
the
home.
documents. Absolutely.
Absolutely, you are.
Absolutely.
And
I'm prejudging him for the documents.
And I find that fascinating, as he hasn't used them for anything yet.
Right.
Assange has.
Based on the quality of his, Assange is Joe Blow. He is me, who has no record of instability in a legal sense, no record of instability or awful things going to buy a gun. I am a neutral. I am a gray. I'm a blank slate.
He was arrested for hacking the Australian government.
He was after
in 1995.
Okay.
He definitely has a history of bad things.
Okay, we're getting really mired in that metaphor. But do you know why he was let off that charge?
No.
Because they said that nothing that he hacked had malicious intent, and it was a first-time offense. He hacked it because he could, because he was trying to prove a point that it was hackable. He had no intentions to do anything malicious with it, or that was what the courts determined. So that's why he was let off with such a lenient sentence. Now, admittedly, yes, he's gone on to do lots of other things in that same vein. But what I'm trying to get at is that I'm prejudging Trump because of his character. In all these other instances beforehand, he has proven to be a dirtbag. Why would I assume that in this case, why would I give him the benefit of a doubt in this case and say maybe he won't this time?
Where are we at for time? Oh, we're at an hour. I find it fascinating. I live in a country where it is so clearly it's split right down the middle. People who love this guy and people who hate this guy. And they each are looking at the other side and saying, you guys are nuts. You're wrong. How can you vote for him? How can you not vote for him? It doesn't matter which angle you're at. And that apparently is okay to you, as you're on the side who doesn't like him, say, absolutely, we prejudge him. Except I'm one of the ones who looked at Obama and said, I actually think Obama's a pretty decent guy. And you know how much I got heck?
So why did you say that Obama's a pretty decent guy? What led you to say that?
Because I think he's a pretty decent guy. I didn't vote for him. But
because what? Because of his past actions? Because of his current actions? Because of what he's done throughout or before his presidency?
No, because I think he's a decent guy.
But why do you think that? You just look at him and be like, he looks like a pretty decent guy.
Yeah, his actions with his wife, his actions with his daughter.
Okay.
The little bit I know, I would not have prejudged him.
Cool.
Now, I didn't vote for him, and I didn't agree with his politics. I thought he was a liberal guy, and I don't agree with that. But I would not ever prejudge him and say he might do something wrong because I don't agree with his politics.
Because he doesn't have any reason for us to think that he would, any tangible or significant reason for us to think that he would do that.
Well, see, you say that because you would have voted for him here.
No.
Yeah.
Everything that they leveled at Obama, like birther conspiracies and jazz like that, ended up being nothing. And I'm not talking about Trump conspiracies being my compass towards his judgment. I'm talking like audio recordings of him that are unequivocally him, with
Yes.
context included. Like,
But
I'm not talking about subjective-y things or
half of a
maybes.
country likes him.
Half of a country's wrong. And actually, no, half of a country doesn't like him. 38.6% of a country likes him. But either way, they're wrong, in my estimation.
And I find
And
it
I'm not even
fascinating
saying
that you will prejudge somebody because you
prejudging
don't
sounds like
them.
it's like a legal sense. Like, I think that he needs to be punished for these documents.
No.
I'm not even going that far. I just don't want him to have them.
Yeah, but I just find that fascinating. That him having secrets is wrong.
I'm sure he has tons of secrets. He's
you have
seen
no
things.
qualms in them saying, no, those are ours, you can't have those.
And he may
And
very
when you
well
look
get
at
them
Assange,
back.
he may, but but you have no problem looking at Assange and saying, maybe there's some moral value there. Maybe his motives are good. That's okay. I find that fascinating. That you don't know this guy except you know what he did, and you look at that, maybe motives are good. You don't like this guy who you haven't liked.
You're saying that as if I'm calling it, as if I'm accepting of it. And I'm not. I'm not accepting of Julian Assange's. And it's not just saying maybe it's
No,
good. There's
you're
also
giving him
maybe it's
gray
bad.
areas. You're giving him gray. You're not giving any gray to Trump, and he hasn't done anything.
He doesn't deserve it. He hasn't done anything with the documents. He has done so many things. He does not deserve moral ambiguity or gray area. I think the time for grace with Trump is long since gone.
I find this fascinating that for him in 6 years, maybe 7 years, he has gone from hero
to some people.
He always was a big guy. He was never the favorite, except he had TV shows. He was Trump. He had stuff all over the world. And nobody looked at him as
memorable. He's always been memorable.
Yes, and never has been the son of Satan that he is now. Like, there is half the population who is convinced that he is the son of Beelzebub.
Yeah.
You just look at him and say, absolutely, because of who he is, he's an idiot. I don't like him. You have no real reason.
I wouldn't call him the Antichrist or the son of Beelzebub. I feel like it might be a little bit of a stretch. But saying that he has dubious character at best and nefarious, yeah,
metaphorically.
No, I have every confidence making those statements. If by some miracle Trump is actually a really nice, down to earth guy behind it all, I still don't like him because he's made the decisions to be that outward personality. I don't think that him being a good person is justifiable.
I don't think he has to be a nice guy not to prejudge him.
I don't even think that being an asshole is necessarily a bad thing. He's not an asshole. Assholes, I work with assholes. I work with guys that are assholes, and I like them for it. I think it is a positive character trait sometimes. Trump's not an asshole. Trump's a villain.
Holy cow.
I don't think that his actions are even remotely justifiable. There are people that are assholes or jackasses or smartasses that their character is, if not justifiable, at least acceptable, or maybe even serve a good purpose. Like, sometimes you need a guy who's a real dingus to run a certain aspect of a business because you need somebody with a strong backbone to do something.
Let's go to your
Trump
country.
isn't a strong backbone.
Let's go to your country.
Okay.
And your leader in power right now.
Yeah.
Is he an asshole? Or is he a misguided individual that, maybe he shouldn't be there, but he's the best we got. Maybe.
He's got someone's hand up his butt because he's a puppet. If we're using extreme facsimiles, like I would call Trump a villain, I would call Trudeau a puppet. He's a talking head and little more.
I look at it. It fascinates It fascinates me how you can
We
look
should
at
change the
this.
title to Will's Hot Takes, the episode.
Yeah, you even got me to swear today, I tell you. I,
Yeah, I think I
I
blew
just
past our swear limit a few times.
I just look at this and I will forever with Trump. I forever will look at how he elicits the absolute extremes in people. Because I know Rose, who was in the comments, she voted for him. She loves him. She is a normal, everyday person.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at it and say he's an idiot.
And I
And
don't
she
know
will
Rose.
hit you with a hammer.
Do I know
for that.
Rose?
No, you don't know Rose.
Do I know Rose?
No.
I don't know Rose. I don't
No.
know Rose. Rose,
No,
I'm sure you are a lovely human being.
She is
Inside
actually.
and out. I'm sure you're fantastic.
She is.
I think that your support of Trump is dumb.
and I look at that and the extreme viewpoint on that. It's going to go down in history as a monumental, or
I hope
as
not.
a moment in history where everybody really needs to have their heads examined because there is such a
do you
violent.
want my other hot take?
Yeah.
Someone was asking me because I was having a discussion with somebody who is very like, you think I'm passionately against Trump. I know people who really wish he'd just get a bullet to the head.
Oh, don't!
And I don't
please
feel that
don't
way.
say that out
Yeah.
loud.
I don't feel that way. I want to be clear. I do not feel that way. But they asked me, they were like, how can you be so ambivalent towards Trump? I said, well, I'm not. And they were like, well, what do you want to happen to him? I don't really anything to happen to him, as that sounds like a really shady statement. But you say that this is going to be remembered. This is going to go down in history and other turns of phrase like that. And I really hope it doesn't. All I want, like if I could have my most vindictive dreams come true towards Trump, I just want him to be forgotten. I just want him to fade away into nothingness.
Okay,
I don't think it's going to happen.
You know you're losing that.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
But history is going to look at this moment in time in Canada and the U.S. And honestly, it's more so in Canada. So I am fascinated in Canada, where it always has been a Canadian thing where you hide your politics. You never talk about who you vote for. Never. That was for TV shows and stuff. Like,
Not
you
anymore.
never said who you. Not anymore. You guys have become the America of the North, where you will stick a flag in your front yard, you will go and do whatever, and you will back whoever, and you will say this and if you don't agree with me, you're an idiot, and I don't like you anymore. And it is
There's a lot
so
of really
American.
There's a lot of really cool psychology behind that too.
I think you've been infiltrated by whoever it was who did it to the U.S.
I don't think it's anything quite that nefarious. I think it's largely a problem of A, social media, but B, there's a lot of psychological stimulus towards being within an in-group and having an out-group to villainize. There's a lot of tribal lizard brain stuff that goes on that people, they like to do that. They like to have a group they're a part of, and they like to have an other to blame all their woes on. And social media has just made that easier. Or once upon a time, you didn't have the quote unquote clarity and the ease of access to information to make judgments on lots of little topics. Like right now, we have access to almost all the information that a major news organization has access to. Like 95% of the info that they can reach, we can reach at our keyboard. 30 years ago, that wasn't the case. So people tended to be a little more cautious, I think, with their opinions, but not anymore.
I believe, and I do think this, that the advent of the access to information, it also allows for misinformation.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't think that it has been all one side. I don't think it's the Russians. I think the Russians and others have used our social media against us. But I think every party does this.
Oh yeah, we've used it against them too. For us to sit back and think the Russians are just fiddling with our social media, I guarantee you we're fiddling with theirs too.
Yeah, so I look at all of this and I think, you know what? It's going to go down in history as an awful time, an awful time in history. And
it's a hard time.
I'm not convinced it's a hard time. I think it's a result. It's a result. I can't speak. It's a result of weak people.
I think it's a tumultuous time. I always sit back and I wonder about that. Like, once upon a time, prior to like the French Revolution, there was the Age of Enlightenment when people had easier access to information. By those standards, literacy
Yeah.
was going up. People finally started to understand their plights and their position in the social caste, and things happened. You had moments like the time frames like the Renaissance or the Industrial Revolution and things like that, or the dot-com boom of the 2000s, the information age. What are we going to be called 10, 20 years from now? What is this age going to be?
I don't know.
What is our era of history going to be remembered for? Probably not me swearing about Trump on a podcast.
Probably not.
But you never know.
We've been an hour 15 minutes. Will, I think we should knock this off, or we're just gonna. This is gonna be those where we disagree.
Yes, this is something that's where we disagree.
There's not a lot of. I think we agreed on the fact that the universities are the one who should be paying off the student debt, not the government.
Mm-hmm.
I think we agreed on that part. But for the rest of it, you're wrong, and I mean, we just disagree.
Yeah.
William, before we go, do you have anything you want to say to our viewers?
I do. Stay safe, don't die, and have yourselves a good night.